Hello everyone. Today we're going to be doing, what is this challenge called here? Print and reverse. We're going to be doing this in Java. What are we doing here? So as you guys can see, I already have the code completed here on the right side here. If this is all you need, just feel free to stop the video. Just copy it. If you guys want to hear me talk, explanation, just stick with me here. So what are we doing, right? So we're giving a pointer to the head of a singly linked list. We're going to print each data value from the reverse list. If the given list is empty, do not print anything. There's a few things to note that I believe that there's an edge case here. If the given list is empty, then don't print anything. So what is being asked here? So let's actually look at an example here. So say we get a list here that has like 5 elements, 16, 12, 4, 2, 5. Just pretty much like the title says, we're going to print this list in reverse. So we're looking at 5, 2, 4, 12, 16 once we print that in reverse, right? Alright, so how do we do that? There's a lot of ways you could do this. This is the way I kind of went about it. So the first thing I do is I check to see if the list is empty. If it is, then just like the problem says, return or don't print anything, right? And then the next thing I do is I just want to see if there's if there's only one node in the list. If there's only one node in the list, we could just get this done pretty quickly. So in the case when there is one node in the list, we just check to see if the next node is empty. If the next node contains a null value, then all we do is we just print that first element in the list and then return it. When I mean return, that means this just pretty much just ends the program from this point on. So now the next half of this two more nodes at this point. Yep. All right. The next half of this algorithm, of this code, of this program, is what we're really going to do is we're going to find the end of the list and then print the element. At this point, there are 2 or more nodes at this point. So again, too, if we kind of look, we have the second example here. So here we're gonna iterate through the list. We're gonna go 7, 3, 9. We're gonna once we hit 9, we're gonna notice that there's the next element is null. So then we're gonna print 9, and then we're gonna start from the beginning, hit 3, print it, start from the beginning, print 7. If that doesn't make sense, just bear with me a little bit longer, and I'll give you a better explanation. Okay. So how do we do this, right? How do we iterate through a list? First thing, we're going to need some sort of iterator here. So that's what I did. I'm having my iterator point at the head of the list. Okay. And then the next thing what I do is I create a an integer variable that starts at 0, and this variable will be growing as we move down the list. So if we have 5 elements in there, I think the last number will be like 4 if I'm not mistaken, because we're starting at 0. Okay. So what do we do next? We find the end of the list. So how do we do that? And why do we want to find the end of the list? Because we want to print the last variable in the list as well. Okay. So again, just bear with me if it still doesn't make sense, and then I'll try to flesh it out for you. So what line 96 to 99 is doing here is we have a loop here. We're going to keep iterating until we hit the end of the list here. Okay. At line 97, right, we're initiating the iterator to the next variable, and so on and so forth. And 96 is just going to keep on going until we hit the end. Alright, so we hit this null here, this null value. And then while we're doing that, we're actually growing our length integer. So by the time, so say we have 3 elements in there, if we have 3 elements, then our length would be 2, because again, we're starting at 0. If we were starting at 1, then it would be 3. Okay, and then once we hit the end of the list, we want to print that last element. Okay, yes, let's right here, element. Okay. Alright, so now that we did that, so we printed the last element, how we're going to get the rest, right? So like, let's look at the last example here. So say we went through this list, we made it all the way to the end, we print the last element 13. Now we want to do 3, right? So how do we do that? Okay, so now I take the length variable. Again, keep in mind this length variable, if we're talking about like an array, an index, it would be pointing at the last element here. But now we're going to decrease it by 1, so it's going to point at the second to last element here. Okay, and then pretty much the algorithm does is we're gonna go through the list again until we hit that second to last element. Right? Once we hit it, we're gonna print this number. We're gonna print this number out, and then we're gonna decrease our length again by 1 more, and then we'll get to 18, and then we start from the beginning again, work our way up to 18. Once we hit this number, we decrease our length 1 more time, and then we go down to right to this index here, where our mouse is at, and then we loop through the array through the list again. Once we hit that number, we subtract 1 more on our length, and we finally get to the very first element. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. So now the next thing I do is I start my iterator at the very end again. So keep in mind during the last loop we had, we left our iterator here at the very end. Now we're just going to move it to the beginning. Okay, now I have this variable here called moving length. Now I could have probably, naming is hard, I could have probably named it a little bit better, but basically what this is going to do is this is going to help us keep track of where our iterator is at throughout the list, right? So again, now that we printed out the last element, let's keep iterating through the list until we hit second to last, and this is what's going to help us, the moving length. Okay. All right. So let's go through this again, right? So this loop here will iterate through all the nodes and print them in reverse order. Alright, so where is the magic here happening? The magic here is really happening in line 113 to line 122. But before we get into that, let's just keep looking at line 123 and line 124. And line 123 here, we're basically just on each iteration, we're going to be moving to the next node. Okay, and then moving length again is to keep track of where we are in this list. So in line 113 here, if our moving length is equal to the length, that means we reached our quote unquote the end of the list. So if we're looking for the second to last element, for example this number 3 here, length would be at 0, 1, 2, 3 would be at length would be equal to 3, and then when we iterate through this, we'll go 5, 1, 2, 3, and that would be our moving length. So once the moving length is equal to the length, what we do is we print out print out the number. We set moving length again to 0, so we're going to be starting again at the very beginning of the list. We're going to subtract length, so then that's how we will go down to the number 18 here, and then we set our iterator to the beginning of the list, so we can repeat the process. And then at any point, if our length is equal to 0, that means we hit the beginning of the list. All we do is print that variable out, and we return, and then we just end the program with a return here. So when I submit this code here, you'll see that we hit all our test results, our test cases. Now keep in mind, if this didn't really make it too much sense, I really do recommend just tracing through by hand. Just start with maybe just like three elements, 3 nodes, and just moving through this. It's pretty easy, I like to think. Again, the magic here is really happening in line 113 to line 120 or 122, I should say. Yeah, hopefully this helped you guys, and if you have any more questions, you guys could just leave them in the comment section, and I'll help you guys out for sure. Peace out, everyone.